Oh yeah.
Well, this is
a lot of deep thought.
It's like you're walking into the middle of a conversation. Like, we're basically always talking is kind of the idea.
Look, this is the nature of Real Fridays. And for those who are logging in, especially Brock, Cassidy is about 30 seconds late.
I was backstage for at least 40 seconds.
So, but no, this is Real Fridays. Every Friday at 12:30, we get together and we talk about real dynamics that's happening in the mortgage industry, especially with key figures around the industry like Shane Stanton from Loan Depot. Super happy to have you on board.
Ditto.
And of course, everyone's familiar with who I don't know who's familiar with the guy behind Jeremy Potter, America's leading lawyer on real estate and mortgage.
That's Robbie Chrisman.
This is the most watched show.
Oh, Robbie!
I had to tune in.
Robbie, I will tell you that it's been the most watched show in mortgage since our first episode. I don't know if you've known
the most watched mortgage show on Fridays at 12:30.
At 12:30 Eastern.
That's right.
Well, what time zone? Thank you. You clarified that. I was just
a couple asterisks.
Yeah. I literally thought Robbie's shirts had Hooters on the front of it. So I thought myself, geez,
Bristol, Tennessee.
Rick, leave it to you to say Hooters. I was gonna say what. Actually, I'm not gonna make any inappropriate jokes.
No. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, save that for the Monday show.
And of course, we also have Brock Cassidy, who's Chief Revenue Officer over at NewsZip, been a founding member of this podcast. So, but it is something that I think where people tend to like our show, Shane, is that it's insightful. I think we talk about things that a lot of podcasts don't talk about, but we have a level of involvement in companies around the country, and we do enough research on different subject matter, depending on the week, that we bring certain topics to light. And people like you, you're not a common face when it comes to these types of shows. I've always loved your work at Loan Depot, and I think that's partly why I wanted to have you on the show and to sort of put you in the hot seat.
No, really. I mean, it's a hot seat. Like, I'm literally just meeting names, and you're mentioning research, and I don't even know what the hell we're going to talk about. So, yeah, this is really good. Buckle up.
That's why this is Real Fridays. I mean, it is structured. It's almost like the less communication we have prior to each show, it's really the better, because then the conversation just becomes a lot more real and a lot more live.
You're following the smart list. You ever listen to the smart list?
Yeah.
They refuse to talk ahead of time and they don't know the guests, and that's good. That's a good play.
That's a pretty incredible comp. I don't think we've gotten a better compliment ever, Shane. So you're starting.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you're right there. I mean, because they're in a different time zone, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, but thanks for joining us. I'm really excited. One of the things that we always notice when we're talking to companies, when we're talking at conferences or something, the big brand names in mortgage carry a lot of weight. People pay attention, what's going on over there. And there's probably 5 to 10 brands that everybody's always curious. Can we get behind the curtain? Like, what's going on? And, Loan Depot is one of them. And people are always, trying to understand, like, should I be learning? Should I be doing something they're doing? What are they doing? And that type of thing. So I was, really looking forward to just meeting you and kind of talking about, like, is that how you approach the day-to-day? When you think about the brand that you represent, that you work for, you think about it as like, we're doing, this big thing, or is it, that doesn't even cross my mind. I'm doing what I'm doing. I just got to focus on what I need to do, whether we represent the whole industry or not. I'm just going to work every day. Kind of, how do you approach it?
Gosh, no, I don't. First off, I don't think about it. I'm sure people smarter than me and more important than me do. But if that happens, if people are looking at the big brands for what's going on, I don't think it's necessarily because they're big brands. It's probably honestly not even because they're big, to be honest with you. I think it's probably more because it's just easier for a bigger organization to have a louder voice. We've got more people working here. We have more people in the market. We've got more marketing. So if you're somebody who's looking for what direction is the industry going to go, well, you're, like this, you guys are a voice because you're the most watched Friday at 12:30 podcast there is. So people are going to tune into this for direction. It's probably no different. So us as an organization, and I think the same goes for everybody. For the most part, yes, we're all competition, everything else. I think most organizations want to see the industry as a whole do well. Like if loanDepot is the only firm that's succeeding and thriving and everyone else is burning to the ground, we're probably not in a good industry. It's probably not healthy. And so as a company, I don't know if it's our cross to carry to lead the industry, ahead. But we do have a belief that if we can help the overall industry, give direction, help, talk about consumer trends and what's needed and doing things the right way and ethically, sure, that's nice. But I think like you guys and what you do on a day-to-day and like most organizations, we're just trying to do the best damn job we can in serving our customers and serving our referral partners and the communities that we work in. And if that helps other people, great, awesome. But yeah, we're on our journey.
Yeah.
So when you look at top brands, Shane, do you think it's sort of like any particular lender? It's almost like the economic comment where when America, sneezes, the world catches a cold. Do you look at any particular lender as a bellwether as to what's going on in the industry, or is it just a focused, like locked in, like concentration of your job when it comes to just business development and sort of growing loanDepot?
Yeah. Well, it broke up there a little bit. If that was my internet, I'm sorry. But if I heard the question, if I didn't hear the question, just guide me back with the guardrails. When I look at brand, there's two different kinds of brands. First off, there's a consumer facing brand, and then there's industry brand, and they are two completely different things. And when loanDepot looks at brand, for us, the majority of what we focus on and care about honestly is consumer facing. Like I'll have, we're like any other mortgage bank. As the someone who's responsible for helping us grow and hire and attract leaders, sometimes I make a mistake, and I don't care how good your platform is. If you don't have the right leadership locally, you're probably not going to do very well. And what's interesting within those markets, when we go back to continue to rebuild, because I really do believe if we enter a market, we do it because we think we have the product, we have the platform, we have the approach to win. So we should be there. I'll have people say, well, you didn't succeed here the first time, so what makes you think that you're going to do it here again? It's almost like, we failed once and every client and every referral partner in that marketplace thinks we're awful, right? And so then you go, well, have you actually asked any referral partners what they think of us? Because they probably don't even have any experience with us. Like, because if you're good in a market, what do you got? 1 or 2%? That's it, market share. So when we think about brand, honestly, the majority of it is consumer facing. That's really what we care about, because if I bring on an originator and the consumers think that loanDepot's brand is good and the referral partners think that loanDepot's brand is good and that we can help them, we've done our job. We really have. And then what happens is, from a corporate perspective, national brand is great, but it still only matters locally. Like if I call up somebody right now in North Dakota, where I don't think we have any retail presence, they're like, loanDepot, who? They don't care. You know what I mean? It's very hard to have a really good, strong brand in a market if you're not there locally. So for us, again, Rick, when I'm thinking about brand, we're thinking about how can we connect with the consumers, connect referral partners, make sure that they know who we are. And then on a brand perspective and in the industry, we're gonna build it locally and in market and just try to do it around the best human beings that we possibly can and improve it out, through service and execution. Did I answer that question right?
It was actually, in my view, it was a perfect way of answering the question, because Alex leadership, especially on social.
Yeah.
I think you guys did such a great job. And I would say that in an era of Greg Share and some activities that I do and others online, Alec, I think, was really the original figure to really push the envelope, I think, on LinkedIn. It got to a point. Well, I remember talking to Alec about it, and I remember him saying, Rick, every time someone scrolls on LinkedIn or on Instagram, we want some loanDepot content on there. We want to demonstrate our technology leadership, our industry leadership, our consumer facing leadership. And then of course we want to use all of that as a way of attracting, the best and the best in the business.
Yeah.
and I just found it was such a way of leading forward with all. And Alex been really transparent about it. I was texting him last night about, he leads with his imperfections. He leads with his what he's confident about, what he's not confident about. And there's an authenticity there that builds a bridge between people who are on the outside versus those who are on the inside. And I think that's a really smart way of going about it.
Yeah, I would say that we internally don't have like a corporate mandate to Alec and say, Alec, your job is to go build our industry brand. I think if you hire someone to do that, it's going to come across as just inauthentic. I mean, it's like when companies hire influencers to put a post out there about a product they've never heard of, like people see through it, they know exactly what it is, right? So we as an organization, we encourage our folks to have their own personal authentic brand. I think business-wise, again, going back to in-market lending, that's important because the local brand will always supersede the corporate. But encouraging and people doing it are two different things, because I don't think you can force somebody to go online and do the videos and everything else. We just happen to be very fortunate that we've got some great leaders. Alec is one, Chris Medine is another. Like, I mean, I could keep going. Jessica Celia, Cindy Gordon, who Brooke, probably, both of them are up near you. We're just lucky. We're just lucky that we've got some really amazing leaders that build their brand in a way that helps loanDepot look good.
Yeah, no, it's remarkably impressive because I think it's, in my view, loanDepot is the company people really like to criticize because you're so public and so visible. Whenever there's, you miss earnings reports, well, there's loanDepot again. There's,
what are you talking
there's a data breach, all of a sudden people are picking on loanDepot.
Yeah.
And quite honestly, when you humanize the organization around the leaders, you really help get through the headlines.
Yeah.
And I think that because I've said this to you for years, where loanDepot is a company that's run a sub 4-minute mile on a dirt track barefoot. Like, you have all the factors against you, wind at your face. There's nothing really, no one's rooting for loanDepot per se.
I mean, except the three of you and all of your listeners on Friday at 12:30. Yeah.
Well, look, the thing is, like, I'm probably less of a fan of loanDepot as I am more of a fan of the people that I know who work for loanDepot. Like, I'm more of a fan of some of the leaders that are, that are best in breed, best in class, right?
Yeah.
And I think with Anthony back, I think it changes the narrative a bit around, the present and future direction of the organization. The one thing that was a discovery to me recently was, loanDepot is a lot bigger of an organization than people realize. Like, I didn't realize that, and again, this was more of my market ignorance, but I didn't realize that you guys were kind of a joint venture of Meritage Homes, which is a separate company altogether, but that adds another $5 billion to the organization. There's TriPoint Connect, which is also in Arizona, that adds another $3 or $4 billion to the organization. So when you look at, like, the NMLS numbers, the loanDepot, the organization, and then the other builder relationships that loanDepot has crafted, you're looking at a $34 billion a year organization. And it really points, I think, to the innovation of the company, of being able to sort of spread its wings and enter into markets that a lot of companies either haven't figured out successfully or haven't been able to launch. So, where do you see loanDepot? I mean, where do you see, as you're pitching loan officers and branch managers, and they're saying, like, how do we fit in as this cog in this larger wheel? Where are we going, as an organization? How would you respond to that?
Goodness, there's a lot of stuff in there. I'll go back a couple comments first. I don't think anybody roots for companies. You had made a comment, right? Like, I'm not necessarily a fan of loanDepot, but I'm a fan of the people.
Yeah.
We got to remember, while for us in this business, it feels like there's teams and jerseys. We're not the NFL. Like, nobody grew up as a fan of Wells Fargo. When I was a kid, I had the Stagecoach on my on my nightstand because I just love Wells Fargo, right? So nobody's a fan of any company. At the end of it, we are a fan of people and relationships, and so we've got to recognize that. And with loanDepot having headwinds, honestly, and I appreciate, the sentiment, because what you're saying is our leaders have a unique ability of guiding an organization to success. I mean, they do. We've got, talented, you named Anthony as one, you named Alec. They're just unique human beings. At the end of it, I think every organization has gone through, some headwind in this business. Like, if you've survived at this point, you're a pretty damn good firm, and you've got some really, really good leadership, right? Like, New Americans had a data breach. Like, half of the industry has had a data breach. Let's call it what it is, right? And it's all been public out there. And so I wouldn't say our headwinds have been any more complicated, difficult. Like, it's like if you've got kids who play sports, you've got two types of kids. It's freezing outside. They're playing baseball. It's 40 degrees out. You're really not weather made for baseball. But guess what? You're all playing in the same temperature. So either you're going to say, screw it, I'm going to beat these guys at 40 degrees, or I'm going to complain about it being 40 degrees and it's going to, suffer my thing. So I don't know if we've had any worse headwinds than anyone else. I would say that we have some competitive advantages getting through this market. And you highlighted a couple of them, Rick, right? Like, we're one of the very few firms that can do JV very well. We're one of the very few firms that most of our JVs, the majority of them are in the builder space. And that's because we're really damn good at builder, and builder is hard. And guess what? Yeah. Builder has helped carry this industry a little bit, right? When you look at resale numbers and everything else, obviously refi is being gone. The answering your question on where we fit in, we're actually, it's funny you say we're bigger than most people think, because honestly, I think we're smaller than most people think. Like, a lot of people, when you look at my retail staff, which is maybe a sign that I'm not good at my job, CCM's 4XS. Like GR, if you throw all the brands together with GR, I guess are Rate now, you got Rate, you got Origin Point, you got blah, there, right? And so, where we fit in the market, is this industry on a whole, when you're talking about the retail spaces, which is where you and I play in, right? The starting point in the price of admission is very simple. You got to have price prog fulfillment. Like, you can talk about technology this and AI that, and consumer first behaviors this, but if you aren't able to innovate in product, you aren't able to close loans quickly and efficiently for both the consumer, the realtor, and the originator, and you can't do it at a competitive price, you're out. I don't care, right? So we focus very heavily within those spaces. Now, after that, as local originators go, there's a few things that I think producers are hungry for, and that is an organization that can make their life easier. We'll start there, and now that's a broad brush, because we can be talking about time saved, we can be talking about loan manufacturing. You talked about it, highlighting our ability to let originators be themselves and go brand themselves. But within that space, undoubtedly, and Anthony, some of the moves he's made as of late, we're putting a line in the sand, and we think technology is going to have a major impact on this industry going forward. And even today, I've yet to have somebody take a look at our platform, join our organization, and go, where it came from, they had better technology than this. I've yet to have that happen, right? And so, Anthony being not just a mortgage banker, but technologist, he thinks that matters, because it's going to drive efficiencies, quality of life, lead capture. I can keep going. So he's not been afraid to invest into it. The other thing is when I got started in this business, the only funnel retail originator to get purchase business was in market relationships. That was it, right? And you look at today, and Rick, look, let's face it. If social media didn't drive business, you guys wouldn't be doing this podcast. People would not be posting online. There wouldn't be lead aggregators. Yeah. And so when you look at the landscape, the funnel of how you capture business, it's fractured. It used to be one or two funnels, and now it's dozens, right? And so as an organization, we think that our job is to help our originators get back to having the ability to capture 100% of the market. And that means, in some cases, battling against the big boys, the Rockets, and those types of organizations, and helping our originators connect with consumers first digitally, that they couldn't do it on their own. In some cases, it's teaching them how to connect locally, with relationships, or, as you were saying, having different ways of setting up relationships compliantly that allow our originators to be in a position to be the preferred lender. But whatever it is, our place is we are old school in that price prog fulfillment wins. And then if we can make your life easier in capturing clients and doing your job, we've done a good job as a company. That's
Absolutely.
And I've never said that in that way. So if that was awful, I apologize. I know it was long-winded.
I think once this gets posted to YouTube, you should check it out, because I think it was exactly what should be said from a clarity perspective. I mean, the question it brings up, though, and the challenge I'm sure you've managed your whole career is, how do you become a magnet for the right team member, the right MLO, the right person to join, while also curating and allowing the people who are there to be themselves, while also managing with some consistency and cost measures, kind of the go forward, because everybody can't be doing their own thing. And so you have to constantly be balancing this technology forward. And we believe we're going to make it easier for you to capture, but we're going to make it easier for you to capture our way. So you have to kind of fit, but you can't only, you can't be that exclusive. So you constantly have this massaging of the message. So how have you managed that?
Yeah. So first off, I had no idea this was going to be, it's so funny. If anyone actually watches this, I literally had no idea what I was walking into. I thought it was going to be like an industry thing. I had no idea it was going to be Loan Depot conversation. So if I sound like a commercial, I apologize to anyone.
No, we're curious in Loan Depot, and it's look, you're inseparable from the brand at this stage, so that it's hard not to talk to you and not talk about what Loan Depot is thinking, doing, and how you're presenting the organization differently than everyone else. I mean, there's a lot of lenders out there, and Loan Depot is pretty unique.
So there was so a couple of things. There's different verticals. First off, in the question that you asked, from a technology perspective, there's one consistent. If I get a loan, I need to. Whoa,
double Ricks.
He's everywhere now.
Too many Ricks.
You're omnipresent. So you ever see the Spider-Man where they're kind of pointing at each other? All right. So if I have a loan, if I'm at any organization, there's one point of sale technology, right? I mean, that's plain simple, right? So getting the team to conform, if you will, well, that's easy, because you don't have a lot of companies out there with 18 point of sale systems. Having one is expensive enough as it is, with the minimum floor cost that all those firms have and everything else, right? Fortunately for us, we don't have that because we built our own and everything else. But with that, getting people to conform in terms of technology, it's easy. This is the point of sale we have. And before you join us, evaluate it, make sure you like it. Most people do, because it's pretty damn good, right? So then you go into, I think, some of the areas you were talking about with brand and lead capture. So the one thing is, in terms of like traditional, easy, if you want to think of like almost like consumer first lead capture, if you were doing a call center, we actually don't preclude our originators from going out and buying their own leads. I mean, there's vendors out there that do that. We don't preclude them from mining in their own way. But here's the thing. In that space, which I didn't know before I joined Loan Depot, right? In that space, speed to the consumer and volume and velocity are like paramount. Like that is a science more than it is an art, where I would say in-market lending relationship based is very artistic, right? And so while we allow originators to do that, guess what? I have the #2 call center in the country. Plain simple, right? You got Rocket and you got us. Meaning we've invested millions of dollars in our telephony. We've invested an amazing amount of engineering time, training resources to get these leads ingested as an organization as quickly as we possibly freaking can, and getting them through whatever cycle we need to get them into the hands of our originators. And so with our in-market team, they have access to our purchase leads. We want them because we do believe purchase transactions should be and better, and for the consumer, should be served locally. And so within that space, it's easy when you have the technology, right? Because I'm ingesting it, I'm pushing it directly into my CRM points directly to my point of sale. So from a flow and systems perspective, it's not conformity and control. This is the speed and execution you need if you actually want to do this job really well. And it's a competitive advantage of Loan Depot's, because we're one of the few firms that are driving these consumers to our in-market team, right? If I'm an originator right now and I want to go get a realtor, what's the better way of doing it? Hey, I'm really good at my job and give you good service, or I can give you direct connect to consumers that you're not talking to. Right now on the brand side, it's and I don't know if it's luck. I'd like to think it's common sense more than anything. We're not really trying to control our team in the brand. If you try to do that, and you try to say you're working at Loan Depot, so you need to lead with this, we've failed the market, we failed the originator, we failed the consumers, right? And so our originators know you can't, there's certain things that none of us, there's things you guys can't say on this podcast. If you were speaking to the consumers, if you were speaking to, to try to generate business, because compliantly you can't do that, right? So we give our team the tools and the knowledge of, let's keep you out of trouble, because guess what? It's going to hurt you more than it's going to hurt us. And then from there, for those that are interested, Rick had mentioned him, Alec has done the most amazing job of creating an education platform that exists permanently, but also is ongoing to help our originators with the tactics and techniques to tell their story. To use, and it's not just digital, it's not just social. We got to remember that, right? It is also being in the market. It's showing up at live events and organizations and conferences and being in a position to really be your local market's leaders. And technology helps with that. So it's not really controlling and conforming as much as it is, we're going to make this a whole hell of a lot easier to where you can actually win this game. We're going to give you the tools to win it, but we're also going to give you the personal skills to be yourself and your authentic, brand.
Real quick question. What do you think what makes you the number 2 call center in the country?
Performance execution, Anthony Shea. Anthony Shea is I was talking to him yesterday. It's just amazing to me how smart that man is. It's crazy. So, it's just part of the lifeblood of what he is. Thankfully it helps. It works for us. It is one of the greatest secret weapons we have in our retail franchise. Because again, last year we live transferred hundreds of thousands of leads to our in-market team, but it also helps them with database protection like nobody's business. And if you look at database retention in the retail space, we outperform the competition pretty damn well. So Anthony's knowledge and know-how and chops in the call center space has been good for the company because it makes us more financially sound. I think that you need multi-channel in this business. You guys kind of highlighted that already.
Yeah.
So from a stability perspective, from a go forward strength perspective, because as this market changes, guess what? Having that's going to be nice. And it helps prop up the division that I support, which is the retail end market team like nobody's business.
Yeah. It sounds like, go ahead, bro.
Yeah. Sorry. I'm just curious kind of where you sit, having not met you before and just kind of playing a little bit of catch up while we talk. How do you split your time between, I guess, like more general business development and the recruiting and things?
Yeah, for me, that's a hard one. Because if you look at people in my seat, for the most part, would love to say that the way to grow to the number 1 spot is simply by teaching our originators how to go from A to B in terms of funding numbers.
Sure.
That'd be great. And honestly, I think that as an organization, you should operate that way because then you're bringing your best foot forward to serve and support your originators. Mm-hmm. But you guys look at the same data I have. Rick is way more into the data than I am in terms of numbers at his fingertips. Rick, if I'm wrong in this comment, you tell me. The companies who have gained market share at any point over the last 10 years, not coincidentally, have also been the best recruiting organizations, right? Now, how they did it, what they did, guild acquisitions, this company, that, I won't go into specifics. And so the truth is the organizations that know how to attract the best talent also tend to be the organizations that grow market share. Now, you can't have one without the other. Not if you're going to do it in the right way and not build a house of cards, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, I can go out and buy 8 companies. I can't. Maybe Anthony could, but a company could go buy 8 organizations. Yeah. But if that organization doesn't balance it with what you were saying, the business development side, and actually helping the organization be healthier and originators win, sure, I did really good in growth for a year or two, and then right out the bat, and we see it. I won't mention companies by name because I respect the hell out of all of what they do, but you can see some of the best organizations in the last 5 to 6 years that have done the best growth. They also have the most amount of people walking out the back door. So I think they go hand in hand. For me, Brock, I got my start in the business as a headhunter. I still consider myself a headhunter. On a day-to-day basis, I headhunt. And really it's relationship development, but at its raw form, that's what I do.
And I'm sure that's the clearest ROI that you can.
It's the best day to be. And I'm just not smart enough and talented enough to simply sit back and project manage and idea create and go, did my job. If I'm looking Anthony in the eyes and saying I helped the organization win today, I personally have to build the organization. I just got a belief system that if you're in a company, unless you're in a true support role like ops, your job is either to bring in loans or to find another way to bring in people that bring in loans, and so I focus. I spoke
enablement to do more loans with the folks you have, as well.
So.
Shane, you mentioned the industry earlier, and it sounds like you have a pretty clear perspective that you've gained on the role of the originator. And we hear a lot. There's a lot. I guess the old-fashioned term would be ink spilled. Now it's like clicks of the keyboard. Okay. There's a lot of that on like the future of this role. And it sounds to me like you're saying less is changing about the role. The tools are, the technology is, but you sound really firm on the role of the originator. I guess I want you to say more. Am I hearing that correctly? What is your take on the role of the mortgage loan originator as we see all of this change coming to the economy and to our businesses?
Yeah, and in fairness, guys, I'm not going to proclaim to be a resident expert in this space. Everyone's got kind of their parts. I think Rick, you said a cog in the machine or something like that, right? So, there's an owner of a company, and I won't name him again, just out of fairness to him. We were at a diner here in Connecticut about 2 years ago, and we got talking about technology and how it was coming into the business, and I was probably overselling tech a little bit, and he politely kind of punched me back. He goes, "Dude, until technology actually removes the role of the originator, I'm going to bet the other way, because I've been hearing this crap for the last 25 to 30 years. And last time I checked, we're all still doing it." Right.
Sure.
So now the technology is different now, right? AI is a real thing, right? I know of an originator who has developed an AI that's combining things that you guys, I'm sure, have talked about or thought about at some point, where it's a video imagery of you and scraping the internet for market updates, and it's doing Instagram posts that is just saying, here's a market update, but I'm not actually doing it. It's just a piece of thing. So there is a real potential change. But again, in every industry where technology has come in to make the life easier, we still deal with human beings. It's plain simple, man. And every time that grocery stores or Amazon try to, their humanless, checkouts, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. And so the originator, I will say, that thinks that their main thrust of job is to review W-2s and analyze tax returns, and that is their job. I do think that they've got some risk coming their way. There was a great narrative that Shant Benosian, who I'm sure you guys know. Again, you ever want advice on the future of the business? He's the guy, not me. But where he had talked about his view of what the originator's job is. And he's like, you've got to understand, as an originator, your job is a marketer and brander.
Yeah.
You've got to make sure, you got to understand that connecting with your consumer base, your target audience, being out there adding value, understanding and telling your story, that is the biggest thrust of what you do. And I think it's true. It goes back to what, Brock asked a question and I answered it. I could sit back and work on engineering all freaking day, but if I'm not actually connecting with other human beings, I'm not doing the job. So I think the role of the originator, especially with the way that technology is going, again, it's not analyzing W-2s and tax returns. It's connecting and serving and supporting clients and giving them the best options they can and putting them in the best possible situation humanly possible. I don't see that changing. And I still firmly believe, with the biggest transaction of their life, they want to be served and supported locally.
Yeah. We had I just connected some dots from a prior conversation we had maybe just 3 or 4 weeks ago on the show. We had Samir on, who's the founder of Flare Labs, and he gave us a live demo of his voice AI product that's specifically tuned to real estate and loan officer use cases. Has like a menu of use cases, and we pressed him a little bit on, does this get close to licensed activity? Does this get close to things that humans should do? And he's like, no, this is just to gather information for them to then go do all those things.
So
that's what the founder of an AI company in the space thinks. It's like that,
if this was one of you, I apologize. There was a post out there where somebody, because I don't remember who did the post.
Yeah.
There was something out there where somebody was like, they're coming for your jobs. And it was the threat of AI. And it was an AI a conversation bot chat thing, whatever the hell it's called, that was walking the consumer through the application. All that what it is a verbal version of an app. That's all that is. It's a verbal version of an online app. And so like I looked at it and I got where they were going. Like, look, they're conversating, they're talking, the person's building trust, but
sure.
We know when we're talking to a robot. And we know when we're talking to a human. And the second that I don't even know if I want to say this, but who cares? Like the second that we think that a robot can replace the emotion and connectivity of a human being, do we think people are going to date AI? Do we think people are going to marry AI? No. The AI can hold a conversation, but you can't have a human connection, right? Like humans are humans, and we want to work with other humans, plain and simple.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think.
No,
go ahead, Drew.
I actually like it when people bring up posts of mine that they disagree with because it's super fun. But Shane, actually, I'm much in your camp, which is we have to make experts more expert. That's always been what technology adoption, value, return on investment looks for. That's what we're doing here.
Yep.
So
now. Go ahead.
I apologize. No, I have to step out after this question. I'm going to drop. You guys can keep talking. I sorry I have to go early, but
the only thing I'm going to add to it though is it's one thing to say that the human element is going to be paramount and going forward. But the reason why Anthony's investment for us, and this is not to pull it back to loanDepot because I'm sure there's other companies doing tech. The reason why I think Anthony's continued innovation and technology matters so much, though, is we can't ignore that speed does matter.
Yeah.
Right. Like, because the consumer, while they want to work with another human being, if path A is hours long of conversation and 45 days, and then path B is, well, I'm going to talk to the AI bot and I'll be done and you do have to keep pace. And so to your point, the technology has to be developed to make you an expert and quick, fast.
Yes.
So that way human beings will still choose the path that they want.
Yeah, make it easier to set the appointment, make it easier to gather the docs, to do the tasks. Like 100%. That's a total no-brainer, but it's still a long way from what the best.
My favorite was when DocuSign was first coming out. I had somebody that worked for me, like literally, and if you got to go, it was nice meeting you, man.
Thank you. Nice to meet you too. Talk to you soon.
Later. I had somebody go, well, I don't want to, I'm no e-sign here. No, I need to sign the docs with the bar. I'm like, are you like, literally he equated his job to being next to the person with the pen while they were signing it. And clearly the guy came around, but that's not the job. The job is serving and consulting, blah, blah, blah.
So, yeah, absolutely.
So what would you say to be the main driver or what market trends are supporting, I think, the direction of loanDepot, or what market trends loanDepot is driving to change the industry today?
Again, we're not trying to change the industry, right? We're trying to change the experience that we're providing, clients. It'd be way too bold, Rick, for me to think that we need to change NFM. That's not our job, right? That's not the goal. So industry trends in terms of how we're adapting and I think it's unarguable that,
the one thing I would say, Shane, though, is that there are things that you guys are doing that absolutely affect the competitive landscape, and it drives us to change.
But that's not why. But vice versa, right? But vice versa. Like, look at NFM. You guys have done an amazing job of creating an organization that is, I'll call them kind of micro businesses, right? You've got Main Street. You've got a couple different other brands that are underneath there. Guess what? We've never done DBA. It's just not part of our. It hasn't been part of our thing. But guess what? We're leaning in and learning how to do that, right? Because so it's not that we're doing anything to lead the business. Sure, there might be everyone copycats, right? Like you know, let's you know, I won't name the company, but you know, there was a time where offers for talent acquisition was X. A certain company came out and made it, you know, a gajillion X, and guess what? The rest of the industry followed. Why? Because if you don't, you're not gonna grow. So I think the industry in totality learns and adapts from each other. Those companies that win long term have the consumer's mind, you know, at heart first, and you know, so that's a big thing. But you know, so for us, I mean, obviously, again, technology, while our industry is not exactly great at innovation, the rest of the world is. So that's number one. Like, you know, consumers want that, and so we do think that from industry and worldwide trends, if you will, that's an area that we need to. Again, it's unarguable that you know, realtors are not the only source of purchase transactions anymore. So as an organization, you've got to be really, really good at tapping into all the different varieties and ways of connecting with consumers, and not cutting the realtors out, using it as an opportunity to serve and support your realtor partners, right? You know, so that's a big thing. And then also within today's day and age, look, product boxes and credit boxes are widening again, and innovation and product matters, right? You know, non-QM is, I mean, you would know the number, Rick, but I mean, it's what, 30-40% of people's volumes at this point, if not more. That wasn't the case 3-4 years ago, right? And so as an organization, you know, we're not trying to lead the industry by building a proprietary non-QM product suite like we have. What we're trying to do is best serve our clients and best serve our referral partners, and ultimately helping our originators win business. That's
yeah. I guess kind of like it's almost a micro version of Rick's question might be more telling is what are the top couple of points that you either hear from originators that get to Loan Depot that have worked other places, or you know, your go-to pitch, you know, for a success LO that's maybe already successful, you know?
So I think I've talked enough about the product and the tech and the consumer first. I think the other thing that has happened is, as a whole, I don't know if you guys agree. I do believe this to be true. I believe in it. I think the originator population is smarter today than ever before. I think that part of its experience and wisdom, because, you know, most of us are not getting any you know, younger, but even the newer population, the access to information, you know, if I was an originator in, you know, 95 and I wanted to learn how to build a business, I had to go to Todd Duncan's event. Like, I had to pay money, physically pick myself up, go to a conference, sit at the conference to get the knowledge that I wanted, or buy a book and slowly read it. Now, I mean, all cards off. I mean, I can get as much knowledge as quickly, as fast as I can from sitting right here in this chair. And so I think that the originator population, I don't think enough people give them credit for how intelligent they are at both running a business as well as building and doing sales, right? And so within that, as an organization, you know, the other gentleman asked a question, like, how do you control it and this and that? What we're doing as an organization is we're positioning our originators to make decisions for themselves in a lot of cases, and be more business owners, and we support that. Like the old school big bloated organization, we hear that term, but it's true. The old school big bloated organization that, you know, the ivory tower knows best and, you know, knows more than the originator. So because of that, we're going to justify building in margin, and that's gone, man.
Yeah.
And look, you can look at, you know, Rick, again, you can speak to it. You can look at the nations that are winning, you know, and they all have models that are empowering the originators to run the businesses how they want to, you know, and for what you guys, right? Instead of saying Main Street, who I love those guys, they're just awesome human beings, this is how you're going to run your business. No, you allow them to be them. And so I think that that's a change, and a good one, for the business, because ultimately,
what's interesting about that dynamic, Shane, is that if you went to our corporate marketing, you'd probably identify that our corporate marketing is not really as powerful or strong as our divisional marketing, because there's so much of that power and that brand has been allocated to that local divisional,
and how to serve and support. So again, I'll go back to my roots. I was a headhunter, right? And still am. And what's funny is in some marketplaces, and if you know me well, I don't talk myself up very well, but in some marketplaces, I'm an okay headhunter. And then I go into other markets, I'm garbage. I talk too fast. I swear too much. I'm not the guy. And I think that's important to recognize. Like, every market has its own tempo, has its own language, and so, we've, and it's not like a new lesson. We've known this for a while, and we support and embrace it. The industry is trending that you've got smart mortgage professionals. Let's let them run their business and support them on how they want to be supported versus trying to tell them what to do.
Yeah, Rick and I were talking about kind of a microcosm of that off the record in a conversation a few days ago about how a lot of we won't get too far into NewsZip, but a lot of what NewsZip's doing is building partnerships where it's not the executives are saying every loan officer uses NewsZip because that's the perfect way to build the realtor relationships. They're saying this is a great way to do that we approve of. It's in the store, it's in the marketplace, it's in the toolkit, it's in your golf bag, whatever metaphor. Use it or don't use it. Some of you have realtor relationships in all 30 states that you lend in. Some of you have them just in your home market and are buying leads in 29 other states, right? So use NewsZip for those, probably, whatever it is. But yeah, that's even in, the 10, 11 years I've been building partnerships in the business. It's like, it's a lot less top down than it was. It's a lot more.
The days of and it sounds cliche because a lot of the business uses words like servant leadership as a way of, and culture as a way of trying to attract folks. And really, it's gotten to be cliche. But the truth is, the best organizations understand they're working for the people that work at their organizations.
Yeah,
that's it. And so our job is, unfortunately, an individual loan officer does not have the opportunity to build a point of sale technology like Mello, just as an example. It's just it requires too much engineering, too much expense, too much time, blah, blah, blah. And so what our job as an organization is to do the work that the originators would want to, had they had the capital, and basically we're working for them, and I think and we're not the only one. Like, that's not a Loan Depot pitch. The best organizations right now, I think, are all behaving that way.
Shane, how do you foresee the market landscape? In other words, you see a future with fewer IMB, more consolidation, larger IMBs, and a lot of smaller independent brokers. Like, how do you see the seesaw of originations balancing out?
Yeah. On a podcast, I'll be more bland because, again, the disclaimer is I'm not you guys are smarter than me. I don't study that stuff, right? I really try to stay in the lane of serving and supporting originators to serve and support their communities. Generally speaking, though, it's been a hard market, man. And last year in 24, I think there was recorded like 47 or 50 mergers, acquisitions, that type of stuff, at least in the periodicals, or could have been more behind the scenes. Is there any reason to think that the industry is fiscally gotten easier for a lot of companies in this market? No. And so, and when you look at the new companies coming in, you can see the velocity of new companies really gaining market share starting to slow, right? Mm-hmm. And so you combine those two things, you're getting aged ownership that, they're talking about their personal wealth at risk in an organization that really it's not going to get super strong, but so there could be consolidation, but at the same time, the industry is flatlined. There's a lot of optimism. We're seeing some really good opportunity in the forefront. And so, it could go one way or the other. I have no thing. We're very, very excited about what the future is, as an industry, Rick, but I don't know. That was a lot of words to say. I don't have an answer because it's not fair of me, honestly, to say, yeah, 20% of the IMBs are going to go away. What the hell? I hope not. I want competition. It's good for everybody. So I really don't have a foresight on that, honestly. I shouldn't have said all those words.
No.
Look, I think you don't have to be an expert to know when one has their ear on the ground, right? You talk to enough people, you understand what the migratory patterns are of top producers and why they're making the moves that they're moving, and what's making them competitive in those moves. Yeah. So I do think I think you're just as an expert as anyone else is because of how your hands are in so many markets and with so many people.
But it's all guesswork, right? Like I won't mention companies, but I don't know what other companies have in terms of balance sheet and profitability because it's not out there, right? So we wish for the best of everyone. I think that and hopefully you guys agree. I think that there's of course there's things that maybe are going to be challenges ahead, but there's optimism ahead. I really think so. So hopefully everyone continues to
seat, I agree.
I'm sorry?
I would say. Well, if you're sitting from the vantage point of Loan Depot, I agree where there's optimism, but most companies don't have the technology. They don't have the footprint. They don't have the economy of scale. They don't have the leadership. They don't have the capital. So while we don't have to know, I don't think we have to know, quite frankly, the details of the economics of most companies. I bet you plus or minus, we can get pretty close of what they look like.
Yeah, maybe. But the at the end, again, the joke I made in the beginning, like no one grew up with a Stagecoach on their nightstand because they're a big Wells Fargo fan, right? And so the thing I do know is this: really talented and passionate local mortgage professionals will always have a place. And if something happens at their organization, whether it's market related or ownership related or whatever, there'll always be a home for them. So, consolidation in our business, realistically, I don't think any of us think that the housing market's going to get any worse than it is right now. I think that, again, we see, optimism for potential rate opportunity, in the future. And so as long as the local originator continues to show up the way that they should, we shouldn't have a massive amount of NMLS ID consolidation in the business. We shouldn't. Locally, at least.
Yeah.
So,
Rick, we can't hear you.
No, sorry. No, I agree with you, and I do think it is a relationship-driven game, and I don't want necessarily people to be harmed or companies to be harmed, for that matter. I do think that companies are led by leaders, and leaders make good choices, and leaders make strategic poor ones. And that ends up driving the fate of the organization and the fate of those people behind them. Yeah. So and there's probably nobody that knows the consequences of those actions with Anthony. And that might very well have been the reason why he came back. They said, hey, I grew this company to a certain level. I stepped off the pedal and I see that it could go into a better and more healthier direction with me leading the charge. So he came back to do it. I don't know Anthony at all, but I feel like I know him through the media and just through what I know of him. And I feel like he looks at something a success story that he could drive it home. There's a lot of optimism for him.
I won't speak for Anthony on that. He doesn't need me to, nor does he want me to.
I don't mind speaking for him. I don't know.
Yeah. But he is. When you get to that platitude, and he's not the only one in this business. No offense to you guys or me, but they're just genetically different than we are.
Oh yeah.
They are doing this honestly to help the world. And that sounds stupid and cliche, but really just to proceed it forward. So the industry is better with Anthony participating. As you had said, because the most talented leaders in the industry possible are going to continue innovation. Because if we don't, as an industry, innovate and continue to push and serve our consumers better, we are opening the door for someone else to come in, right? So I won't speak for why he came back. I think we're all lucky that he is because he's an awesome dude to be around and learn from.
That's great. Well, I appreciate you being on Real Fridays. Any final comments, Brock?
No, that was awesome. Thanks for coming on. I love the conversation, and thanks for the time and putting up with Rick's hot seating at the beginning.
Yeah, no problem. I have no idea if I helped you guys accomplish what you're trying, but it's a fun conversation.
It'll be super informative for the audience. I mean, we'll get several thousand views of this over the course of the next week. I'll let you know the final numbers, but it'll be good.
No, don't, because the final numbers are going to be like your lowest watched episode, and then I'll just go into the corner and cry. It's going to be a bad day. So, seriously, I appreciate you guys. Y'all take care.
Take care, man.
See you later.
Bye.